Quite a few items got updated in the data mines or the PTR for Season of Discovery Phase 2, and today we're just going to briefly go over them. It's a lot of really exciting stuff, some old world items and some new things, like the Toxic Revenger. This was a blue dagger in the original data mine, but it is now actually an epic dagger. So rogues, rejoice, you will have an epic dagger, although it has a proc that will be really annoying for you in PvP. One other thing, we definitely see actually a ton of adjustments or a ton of things like gear sets that are increasing your melee speed. We can definitely expect that to be a huge change. Melee are getting crazy haste. The Spark of Inspiration, the actual world buff, got changed. It got nerfed from 20% melee and attack speed to 10%. At least that's what we're seeing right now. We're not sure exactly how it will be when it goes live. Also, they did remove the movement speed buff on it, at least again for now. But there's a ton of things like the trinket giving you 5% haste, the helmet giving you 20% melee speed, the buff giving you 20 or 10%, flurry giving you 30% on some classes. If you're a two-handed warrior, you get another 20%, and the domesticated battle chicken that has a proc currently that looks like it is for 100% increased melee attack speed. Now, I think that's going to change. I definitely think that will be massively changed, but there's a ton of other items that were changed. So I'm going to try to go over all of those as well. I do want to correct myself for saying that I thought that this bow from the PvP event in Stranglethorn Vale, I thought that this was atrocious for hunters because it's 1.8 speed, but that's because it's purely for melee hunters. It has an equip proc, not a chance on hit proc. So an equip proc, which means that all of your attacks have a chance to give you 50 strength for 15 seconds. Okay, let's look at some of the changes now. All right, first of all, we did see changes to the epic items, some of them. The Thermoplug's Rocket Cleaver, this two-handed axe, was sitting at a 2.7 attack speed. That has been adjusted now to 3.3. It doesn't make it amazing, but 2.7 for a two-handed weapon is actually pretty atrocious. It's really bad. Nobody was going to want it. Now it is pretty solid, although it's not the best. You probably are still going to be using your PvP weapon for a lot of classes, even though it is less DPS overall. The top end is really nice here. Actually, the top end is exactly the same. So I'm not sure. We'll see what happens with the sims and everything as that all comes out. Also, the power, can you see that perfectly? The power assisted lifting belt. This belt was just +5 to all of these two-handed weapons and no other stats. Now it is 15 stamina, 14 strength, and +3 to two-handed weapons, which is great because you didn't need that much extra like expertise or skill with your weapons for two-handers. So this is actually phenomenal. It is male as well, which means you can also use this as a hunter if you wanted, but two-handed shamans that are just walking around. If I show you the two-handed shaman with the just beautiful Chad weapon, right? And I will have gear sets, theory crafting gear sets coming out soon, as well as sims should be out very soon about a lot of the sets. Now on top of that, I believe the only other change was Toxic Revenger right now. Oh, sorry, ultrasonic vibro blade. This is something that was going to be the offhand. It was 1.6 speed and now it is 2.3 speed, meaning it'll probably be used now for dual wield shamans, I guess. I'm not exactly sure who loves this, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure, but it does puncture the target, reducing their armor by 160. Maybe you'll have tanks use it while your actual melee DPS pick up the fist weapon, Megatorque's Arcano Shredder, which is absolutely amazing. We still see the 1.7 speed on the Electrocutioner's Needle. Another thing that's coming out that is really exciting is the greater insignia of the Alliance. So PvP trinkets that are actually fully PvP trinkets. Now there's a ton more CC in the game, there's a ton more abilities in the game, and PvP is a little bit, it's not the most balanced. Let's just call it what it is. At least we are getting actual PvP trinkets that remove movement impairing effects as well as stuns and loss of control effects. Right now in Classic World of Warcraft, every class has their own individual PvP trinkets. Basically what this means is that every individual class has to choose like, or can only get out of a few things. Like you can get out of disorients, or you can get out of sheeps. So now you can get out of everything, especially having everything like stuns and sheeps and everything is really nice. As for the rest of the gear that we saw, the changes are coming out to old world gear. So some of the old dungeons are actually having some changes to the gear. I would anticipate that also means some quest items will have changes to gear, but specifically things like, if you look at this, the illusionary rod from Scarlet Monastery used to just give you stamina, intellect, and spirit. Now it gives you 12 spell damage. And this is kind of the trend. The major trend is for casters to get a lot better gear. So casters are on the up and up for sure. We have the Ghost Shard Talisman. These are all from Scarlet Monastery, sorry. From the Graveyard, the necklace from Graveyard now also gives you +5 spell damage. The wand from Graveyard gives you +7 spell damage. All of these things are going to change like your pre-bis list and potentially even some bis lists. The Embalmed Shroud, the helm, the cloth helm now also gives you 8 spell damage. You do lose the actual stamina on it, but you get actual spell damage. And why am I saying the word actual all the time? Who knows? The Mantle of Doan. This is from the library. This now gives you +10 to fire skills or fire spells. The Robes of Dawn. Dawn? I don't know. The Robes of Doan now give you spell power and just spell power and stamina. Mograin's Might, that two-handed mace that actually looks awesome, right? Mograin's Might is like one of the coolest looking weapons in the game. Now it is actually way better for paladins, I guess this would be, and also two-handed shamans, but it's 3.2 speed. But so it had its speed reduced from 2.8 to 3.2, which makes it better for a higher top end. And you also have 17 strength on it now and 19 spell damage. There's a necklace here that will also give you more spell damage, more than the necklace from Graveyard, of course. And the helmet, again, another helmet, White Man's Chapeau, that now gives you 20 spell damage, which is actually a ridiculously large amount. Some of these items are phenomenally good, so you're gonna definitely want to get all of your gear from Scarlet Monastery until you get the gear from the new raid. If you don't have like, I'm not 100% sure if these are better than some of the caster bis right now, but like they might be, honestly. Uldaman had some changes as well. There's a lot of items in Uldaman that give random enchantments, like Revlosh's gloves. You would try to get Revlosh's gloves of shadow power. Well, now they will always give you stamina and intellect. These shoulders will give you agility and stamina, which is actually really, really nice. Although this would be crazy if this was agility and strength. That would be like super pre-bis. Revlosh's arm guards giving you 9 agility, 8 intellect. RIP hunters and enhanced shamans, like everything we have gives us strength, agility, intellect, spirit, and stamina. It's like the most spread out things of all time. And the plate boots will give you strength and stamina. I did skip by the leggings, which are now giving you 18 spell power or spell damage and healing on these Stoneweaver's leggings. If we move into RFD, Razorfen Downs, then the Robes of the Lich, which is a pretty cool item already. 20 stamina and 10 intellect actually went to 20 intellect and 12 spell damage. That is super powerful. This cloak, the Silky Spider's cape, went to 11 stamina and 6 spell damage. Again, these things are like incredibly good. The adjustments to gear is phenomenal. So you're gonna be wanting to run these 5-man dungeons. And on top of that, we do know that you will get the books, the class quality of life books in these dungeons. We have a belt that gives now 7 spell damage, 15 intellect. Instead of 15 intellect, 6 stam. We have an offhand that now also gives you 6 spell damage and 11 spirit, and a second offhand that is just for healing that is giving you 11 spirit and 11 spell or 11 healing. That is the glowing eye of Mordresh. We also have the last item in the actual dungeons that's changed. That is the Death Chill armor. The mail armor now gives you increased to your spell damage by 11. It gives you 20 intellect, 3 stamina, which is hilarious, and way more spell damage. So pretty much everything that is a caster item in the next phase will also give spell damage. It's something that you didn't really see very often until very, very, very much higher levels. And you used to like try to min max by going for pure of shadow damage gear or of fire damage. Now that's been alleviated massively. Same thing is happening with profession items, and we'll see this across all different types of professions. But for blacksmithing, we will see everything starting to now have strength and spell damage instead of strength and spirit. The golden scale gear will all be strength and spell damage. And the moon steel sword, the moon steel broadsword, will now also be stamina and spell damage. This is a two-hander with 26 spell damage. Now we have wands that are getting better. Greater Mystic Wand now also gives you 5 spell damage from enchanting. That's phenomenal. Leatherworking, similar thing. The Guardian set is going from intellect and spirit to intellect and spell damage. Or sorry, spirit and spell damage. So that whole thing, that'll be a belt, some bracers, legs, the turtle scale breastplate. So the turtle scale set is also going to a similar situation. Now it is stamina, intellect, and spell damage instead of having spirit on there as well. So we're seeing a lot of adjustments there. Tailoring, you guessed it. Big Voodoo Mask now has 11 spell damage. Big Voodoo Robe, 11 spell damage. Black Mage Weave Leggings, 9 spell damage. So it's either intellect or spirit and spell damage. None of these look to be exactly just healing. It's all actually spell power, which is very good. Some things are more specific. The Crimson Silk Robe is giving you fire damage, and the Crimson Silk Shoulders, though, are just broad spell power. So that's the only one I think that is very specific. Yeah, it is. That's the only one that's super specific. But even just from these like BOE crafted items, you're seeing some ridiculous buffs, mainly again for casters. But casters are going to be very, very happy to see all of the new items next phase. You're going to have crazy amounts of spell damage. There's a ton of gear you can get outside of the raid to be massively pre-bis, which that means that new pre-bis lists will start being worked on very soon. I would be cautious of any that come out just yet. I think there's going to be more things that get changed before the release comes out. So like, if you see one, there's going to be like an updated one, and then like another updated one, and then like another updated one. Just be cautious of everything you see. Not all of this is definitely going into game. This could also be things that we don't know about yet. So it just looks like a trend to see a lot more spell damage, and I'm really, really excited for phase 2, guys. I hope you are too. I'll try to keep you updated on all the news and everything changing as soon as it comes out. With that, I'll see you all on the next one, and thanks for watching.